The Nokia X30 is one hell of a smartphone. Now, this phone features a few different screen unlock options. Now, like with most smartphones, we can use a PIN code, but we can also make use of the fingerprint sensor, which works very fast. And we have a face recognition, and that works very fast as well. Now, let's talk a little bit about some basics. So this phone is available in two different colors. So you can get this one in this cloudy blue version, or you can get it in ice white. Now, the greatest thing about this phone is that Nokia tried to save as many resources as possible. So as you can see, the box right here is made out of just recycled materials. And a cool thing is that inside of this box is actually a note which tells you how much of the phone is actually recycled. So we got a recycled aluminum frame. This thing right here is also recycled. And like 65% of the back cover is recycled as well. By the way, the back cover has a matte touch to it, which does feel pretty nice, and it seems like my fingerprints don't really leave a big mark behind. So this phone has a 6.43-inch AMOLED display with Gorilla Glass Victus, which should make this phone pretty much scratch resistant. I don't really want to try it out, just like the water and dust resistance, since this one is IP67 water resistant. If we head over into the display settings, we can choose between a 60 and 90 Hz refresh rate. And I would really suggest sticking to the 90 Hz for some smooth on-screen actions, even though it uses a little bit more of your battery. Now, just to wrap things up, this phone is available in two different versions. Now, you can either get the 128 gigs of internal storage with 6 gigs of RAM, which is this one right here, or you can upgrade this one to a 256 with 8 gigs of RAM. And the smaller version that I have right here will cost you 520 euros over here in Germany. As for the video and the audio quality on this phone, I have some mixed feeling. So we only have some mono speaker action, so we don't have the stereo, which leads to not the best sound. But just let me give you some samples. Display mode, 20 minutes of GPS tracked workouts and auto brightness. But actually, that's the only flaw that this watch has. Now, when it comes to the display and the video quality, I'm quite pleased, even though the selfie camera gets a little bit in the way when you are watching videos on the full screen. But the colors are quite poppy, the blacks look great, and you get a good contrast. So overall, not too shabby for a mid-range smartphone. Now, the Nokia X30 runs on Android 12, and we get a fair amount of features. Now, like I already mentioned, we have a few different screen unlock options. But we also get other features, like if I press the power button twice, the phone will straight up open the camera. I can swap between different system navigations with either some swiping actions, or I can enable some buttons on the lower end of the display and do the navigation from over here. I can toggle on the lift to check feature and the double tap to check feature, which are pretty much self-explaining. And we can change the app grid from 5x5 to 4x4 or even to 3x3. Alright, let's check out the performance and some gaming experience. Now, the Nokia X30 is rocking a Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 chipset with 5G connectivity. Now, even though I'm running the 6 gigs of RAM version, I still have a very good gaming experience. So I've been playing mainly some car racing games on this phone, but they work just fine. It can get a little bit laggy for a split second when there is a lot happening on the screen at the start, but you barely notice it, and it gets pretty smooth through the rest of the race. Now, like with most smartphones, it gets a little bit warm after 30 to 45 minutes, but the input speed on this phone is just great. It's a great feature for all of the PUBG or the Apex Legends mobile grinders out there. And since we get 5G support, you don't really have to worry about if you want to play on the move. So as for the battery capacity, the Nokia X30 has a 4200 mAh battery, and in combination with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 chipset, we should easily get through a long day at work. Now, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. Now, inside of this box, there is no adapter. So we have to use our own adapter that we have at home, which probably most of us have by now. This phone has a USB-C connection, and it does not support wireless charging, which most of the other mid-range smartphones have by now. Also, this only charges with 33 watts, which I think is okay-ish. As for the last feature that probably most of us use, and those are the cameras. Now, this phone packs 3 cameras overall. Now we have one selfie camera in the front with 60 megapixel, and we have 2 cameras on the backside. One main camera with 50 megapixel with OIS and a 13 megapixel ultra wide lens. Now, the selfie camera only records in 1080p with 30 frames per second, whereas the main camera can record in 1080p with 60 frames per second. So as you hear, there is no 4G resolution on this phone. Also, when it comes to the night time, we have two different modes. So we first have the night mode, which most of the smartphones have by now, and we actually have a dark mode, and this is just great. I tried it a couple of times during the last night, and it is awesome. Now, this one works very good in very low light situations, but just let me give you some example on how the videos and pictures on this phone look like. Alright, let's check out the selfie camera for a second. This one is recording in 1080p with only 30 frames per second, whereas the backside camera, the main camera, can record in 1080p with up to 60 frames per second. And that's how it looks like. Right now I have the image stabilization turned on, so that works great, and let's see how it works without. Alright, now I'm recording again with the selfie camera, but this time I have the image stabilization turned off, and if you're walking normally, you don't really see a difference.
Posting pictures on the gram so other people know that we're more than friends. And ever since you came around, I've never been sober, always in my head. Met you at a time when I was so low, went from just talking to taking you home. I don't wanna go back to who I used to be, so if you ever leave me, promise you won't let me down.
And guys, there we have it, the Nokia X30. For more tech reviews, make sure to subscribe right now and follow this channel for more daily tech review. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.